remember watching the first trailer for Horizon Zero Dawn promoted during E3 in 2015 with massive anticipation. Developer Guerrilla Games had been focused on the FPS genre for many years, but their transition to third person seemed to go off without a hitch, as the title was met with critical praise upon release. I had been eagerly awaiting the release of Horizon Zero Dawn, but before the game released to the world, I had temporarily put my PlayStation 4 to the side to focus on other priorities. With the PlayStation 5 at my side and the next-gen updates to visuals and frame rate, I decided it was time to dive in at the beginning and see what all the fuss is about. The premise of Horizon Zero Dawn is fascinating. Set in a post-apocalyptic future where the world has been taken over by robotic dinosaurs and the remaining humans on Earth have split into tribes who have regressed to a primitive state. You'll be spending your time playing as a female protagonist named Aloy, voiced by Ashley Birch. Aloy, a member of the Nora tribe, was outcast at birth for reasons unknown to the player at the start of the adventure. Rost, voiced by J.B. Blanc, another outcast of the Nora tribe, assumes the responsibility of protecting and raising Aloy. Rost trains Aloy to be extremely proficient in combat and survival skills. After coming of age, Aloy is given the chance to earn her spot back into the tribe via a competition hosted by the Nora called The Proving. After passing the competition, Aloy is welcomed back into the Nora and so begins her real journey. Shortly after winning The Proving, Aloy's origin is revealed by the matriarchs of the tribe. From this point, you are sent into the open world of Horizon Zero Dawn and introduced to Sylens, voiced by Lance Reddick. Sylens plays a major role in the story. I won't spoil it here, but you can think of him as a guide throughout the adventure. The opening hours of the game are extremely slow. It took me 3 separate sit-downs with the game to force myself past the training sequence. This is a worrying trend in the industry. It should not take multiple hours to introduce basic gameplay mechanics to a player. Once I finally got past the training sequence, I opened the map to the world and my eyes were assaulted with a ludicrous number of things to do. Icons for campfires, merchants, quests, hunting grounds, bandit camps, and more cover the map. These icons exist to hold your hand and ensure you never get lost, removing all sense of exploration. This only gets worse when you realize that most of the map is covered in a fog of war. Fear began to well inside me as I realized I was playing yet again another Assassin's Creed clone. I shrugged it off and set off on my adventure. Let's start with traversing the terrain. Aloy can move around freely on foot, by walking, or running. She can climb buildings, mountains, and even tall necks, the brontosaurs of the robotic dinosaur world. She can also override robotic dinosaur mounts such as the Strider to move much quicker as she travels to her next destination. These mounts will assist in combat automatically when unmounted, or you can manually engage in combat with them while mounted. When using the mount, you will be given the option to control the mount manually or have it automatically follow the road in front of you. Often, my mount would clip with environmental objects that the developers decided to place in the middle of the road, and my mount would get completely thrown off its route. This was frustrating when so many other games have provided a blueprint for mounted traversal up to this point. Eventually, you get the hang of the quirks presented with mounted traversal, but it was frustrating to see. Climbing is another form of traversal you will be spending a lot of time doing through your adventure, and it is another odd design decision. Guerrilla decided to make predefined climbable points throughout the world and mark them for the player visually by placing yellow-colored rope everywhere. Not only was this design choice an ugly one aesthetically, it really limits options on where you can travel and takes away the sense of freedom initially presented. You can also fast travel throughout your adventure, and it is extremely welcome considering the size of the open world and the number of quests to complete. Fast travel requires a non-reusable consumable every time you use it. However, you can unlock unlimited fast travel halfway through the game by completing a specific questline and obtaining the Golden Fast Travel Pack. It would be worth attempting to obtain this item as early as possible. Combat in Horizon Zero Dawn is my favorite part of the game. But let's start with its weakest point, the melee. You're provided a spear for melee combat with a light and heavy attack. Both the light and heavy attack set Aloy into a pre-rendered animation that's very slow and repetitive. Although melee combat can be useful, it is best to avoid it whenever possible. On the flip side, everything else about the combat is awesome. As you gain experience throughout the game by completing quests, activities, or slaughtering everything in your wake, Aloy will level up and gain new skill points that can be spent to gain new abilities. The vanilla release of Horizon Zero Dawn only included 3 skill trees, but this was increased to 4 with the release of the Frozen Wilds expansion pack. Prowler skill tree consists of stealth-based maneuvers. The Brave skill tree focuses on direct combat improvements. The Forager focuses on passive skills such as health improvements, and the Traveler path will improve the usefulness of resources and mounts. Aloy has provided an arsenal of ranged weapons such as a bow, slingshot, tripcaster, ropecaster, and more. The tripcaster creates traps, which detonate when the trip wire connecting 2 anchor points is broken. It is best used across enemy patrol paths or in narrow spaces. The ropecaster is used to tie down machines and immobilize them, which is useful against larger machines. Combine these weapons with crafted traps such as the shock trap or blast trap and get all juiced up on resistance potions to create an unstoppable machine killer. Yes, you heard that right. Traps, potions, ammo, and travel packs can all be crafted at any point through your adventure if you have the necessary materials. Materials can be obtained through scavenging, opening chests, completing quests, errands, foraging, and more. You can also modify weapons, outfits, and increase your carrying capacity should you have the correct materials for the upgrades. Modifying weapons and outfits requires the application of a coil, all of which have varying effects, such as an increase in physical damage, fire damage, ice damage, etc., depending on the type of coil applied. Machines are not your only enemies in Horizon Zero Dawn, as you will often be fighting humans throughout the campaign. The love and care applied to the combat with machines was not applied to the combat with humans. Way too often I find myself getting stuck in the terrain with no way to move, or laughing aloud at the design of the stealth melee takedown animation used against human enemies, which is the same throughout the entirety of the game. The graphics in Horizon Zero Dawn are jaw-dropping on the other hand, and I often found myself enjoying the beauty the scenery had to offer. Unfortunately, this does not translate to the animations, as the facial animations are extremely stiff and unnatural in both the main story and the side quests. In addition, the stories being told throughout the universe were not memorable to me and clearly were put into the game to pad the playtime. I personally do not remember any of the side quests sticking out of my mind, and eventually I turned my brain off to focus on getting to the next icon on the map. This led to me turning the sound low and listening to a podcast to keep myself entertained. Upon completion of Horizon Zero Dawn's main storyline, a new Game Plus mode becomes available, which carries all your equipment and skills from your primary save file to a new playthrough of the game. In addition, the Ultra Hard difficulty is unlocked for the new Game Plus, which is quite welcome, as I found the difficulty of the main game to be way too easy, and the level scaling was completely off. For example, by the time I decided to complete the main storyline, I was close to 20 levels past the recommended level to complete the game, and it just made it an absolute breeze. My persistence paid off as I obtained the Platinum Trophy for the main game, and every trophy in the Frozen Wilds DLC as well. Speaking of which, the Frozen Wilds DLC I found to be much more compelling than the main game itself. The new zone had some of the most interesting quests and even sharper visuals than the main game, which is truly saying something. There are a handful of new weapons and armor sets to obtain in the DLC, and they're all a lot of fun to play with once obtained. However, the process of obtaining them is more of the same. Open map, find icon, go to icon. I know my review came off as negative, but all in all, I enjoyed my time with Horizon Zero Dawn, and I would recommend it to anyone who enjoys the Assassin's Creed formula of game. If, however, you are burnt out on this gameplay style, Horizon Zero Dawn does little to enhance the formula and instead focuses on refining the experience introduced by Ubisoft so many years ago. If you enjoyed this review, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you on the next video for Downfall Media.